What's happening, everyone? In this video, I want to look at getting more mileage out of your themes. And what I mean by that is simply, how can you take a theme that you've got, maybe it's a main theme or motif that you've been using, and try to get the most use out of it, whether it's in a film scoring situation, a game scoring situation, or any longer project where you want to reuse your theme in different ways. This might also be for creating secondary themes or creating contrasting sections or developments for longer tracks, where you want to use the same motif, but you don't want to keep repeating the same melody in the same form over and over again. So we're going to look at ways you can take a motif or a full melody and generate a ton of musical content out of that one idea. And as an example, I've been taking one of the tracks I made in the course From Idea to Finished Recording that we also looked at in the structuring part. And we're going to play it, and we're going to take this theme and imagine that this is maybe like a suite or an opening to some kind of movie or project, and that we are required to come up with multiple pieces of chord progressions or little melodic fragments that we can use in different contexts if this was some kind of movie or media project where we need to reuse this theme. So to begin, let's just listen to the main track as it is. Alright, so that's the theme, or at least the basics of it. What we want to do now is to take this as a starting point and try to generate a bunch of different ideas that could work in different scenarios. So let's go through a couple of ways to do this. The first one is to simply take a fragment of the melody and use that isolated instead of in the context of the full melody. So let's listen to some pieces of it. Alright, so let's look at some ways that we can take this and generate a bunch of different ideas based on these melodies and motifs. So the first thing I want to just talk about is the simple step of taking away all harmony and just focusing on specific parts of the melody or fragments of the melody. So let's just take these textures that's in the background, add a little bit of a background string drone thing on the key of C major. And then I'm going to show you what I mean. Alright, so I want to show you now how I take this little background drone and do very understated minimal fragments of the melody in different instruments and create new musical content based on that. Let's start with woodwinds. So that is a little fragment that is loosely based on the theme. The first section is exactly the same as the main melody. The other one is a little simplification of the second half of the melody. And this alone gives us a different kind of theme that could work for a different scene. Now let's start something over here with the horn. And what I want to do is I want to add the harmony as a little different part to it as well. So I actually want to get a little bass in here and show you one extra thing that we can do. Alright, so I just added in a little bass change here. And the second thing I want to talk about is doing a simplified melodic fragment in a different instrument over a drone that has very slight harmonic changes that are way more minimal than the chords in your track and that uses different chords than the ones you use in your main theme. Let me show you what I mean. Let's take the solo horn. That works really well as well. And this is a totally different chord progression than the main theme, which goes like this. Now all of a sudden we're just changing between the most simple form of chords we can do. The first step and fourth step of the major scale. So C major to F. But we're not really changing the chords, it's just a drone in the chords here and the changing of a bass. Let's listen to it once again. Alright, let's look at another way we can create more mileage out of this one melody. So I'm going to keep creating this background atmosphere just because it makes everything sound better, basically. And that's always good when you're creating because that keeps you inspired and keeps you motivated to keep going. Now, we're going to go into a way to use chords and a very simplified version of both the melody and the chords over this drone to create another variation of the theme. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to slow down the chords and kind of do a little mixture of the chords and the melody in a very simple, slowed down way. Let's try something out and see if it works. So that's another way to just create something very simple that probably could come somewhere after this. So this is basically slowed down simplifications of the main theme. Now let's look at another thing that we can do, which is taking the original theme but kind of slowing it down but also changing out the chords a little bit. So let me just record the melody first and then I'm going to try to follow that with the chords.